Wait, here we go. Yes, we are live. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Paulette.
Morning.
Good morning.
Mid-afternoon, but we'll still say good morning.
Absolutely. Okay, so um, today we're going to demystify 𝐒𝐓𝐷 a little bit. Yeah, how does that
Well,
sound?
that's the plan. I'd like to try and get inside this and
Yeah,
inside you and
yeah.
understand a little bit more about this amazing book and answer some questions that I have. And I'm absolutely certain your readers and those that haven't read it will certainly have. And so, shall we just get straight on in?
Yes, I'm ready. Welcome, everybody.
Okay.
Hang on a second. Let me just bring the comments up here. So let us know where you're calling in from. We need to know that we're live over on LinkedIn. So let me check one thing here. I'm pretty sure we are. And we'll also be live on YouTube as well. Yes, we are absolutely live. And let's see who is here. So as you come into the room, the chat is open. Let us know that you're here and we are ready to roll. Okay. All right. So let's just get right into
Okay.
it. It's being recorded.
Right. Right, lovely. So no swearing. Right,
Okay.
okay. I'll remember that, Mrs. And you too. Right, okay. So my first question is, and one that I'm sure many have wondered, is the name 𝐒𝐓𝐷. Where does the name 𝐒𝐓𝐷 come from? And can you tell us how you came up with it?
Sure. Not a lot of people know this, but probably in around 2003 and 2004, I was very close to and involved in the Hare Krishna community near where I live. And these are wonderfully spiritual people that they're way ahead of us in the Western world in terms of understanding vibration, love, right? Prayer, um, all of those kinds of things that we're absolutely into and getting into more and more. And I spent a lot of weekends with them, eating and learning how to do the dances and singing and just understanding the culture. Well, the male counterpart of God, the idol, is called Krishna. He is the
Mm-hmm.
male side of God, and that's why they call this movement Krishna consciousness. Now, of course, this is a label, right? We all know that there is only one God, and we have different names for it. And in Krishna consciousness, they use idols, right, as a representative and
Right.
of God. But it doesn't mean that they're worshiping the idols. For those who are concerned about that, it is simply a representation to God. Anyway, the female side is Radharani. And so everybody has a spiritual name in the community. And so I nicknamed myself Radha. And so I was the female side of God, and everybody called me Radha. And that's where 𝐒𝐓𝐷 came from. Because during that
I
time,
absolutely love
yeah,
that.
good. Yeah.
And when you were part of that community,
Yes.
how did it make you feel? Did you feel such a sense of belonging?
Yes, it was like nothing I had ever experienced before, Paulette. I've never met a group of people that were so kind, so loving, so spiritual. I mean, these people prayed as they prepared their meals, and then they took small bits and had a certain area where they would actually offer the food with which they pray or over which they prayed to God before anybody ate. Now, the
Wow.
food is significantly better. And the question is, after it's been prayed over and offered, really the question I have now, because I didn't know any of this back then, you know, was it the vibration of being in deep prayer and love for God that actually changed me and that it tasted different to me because of my vibration? I don't know. What do you think?
I think that would be an amazing thing to be able to prove. I think it's a
Yes.
wonderful idea.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to prove it, certainly. I think it's one of those interesting comments, really. Oh, hello,
Yes.
Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. So glad you're here. Thank you. Okay. So
Okay, that answers that question. And I feel
good.
like from now on, I think we can call you Madam Rada whenever we feel like it.
Okay.
Or maybe Queen Rada. Who knows? Not Queen Leslie, Queen Rada. Anyway, so
Ah,
that answers that question.
hi,
Moving
Peter.
swiftly on, physically see in your mind's eye, eRada. If you close your eyes, could you please give us a visualization of what eRada looks like in your mind's eye?
Will you access eRada from the sky? So that's the first thing. So you arrive at eRada through travel there. So your first visual, and my first visual of eRada was how, I don't know if that's one of your questions, but how eRada came to be. And it came to be from an observation from the heavens, if you will. And so,
Okay.
and then it became an elliptical planet, and I can see it. I actually sketched it out, what I had seen. It was elliptical shaped and would not have survived on its own. It was just another piece of space debris, if you will. But the magic that occurred in the creation of eRada included adding a third sun to the other two suns, which changed the environment and the climate significantly. But it was the third sun that gave the planet its life. And it has mountains, not high mountains, but on the mountains are truffle beds. These are plants, right? Flowers that grow, and what grows there are truffles. And I don't want to say too much, but they're delicious. And there's a special way to eat them. So you have to bite into them and allow the liquid from inside the truffle to ooze down your throat. Because what's inside is the magic of life. It is the infusion of virtues and values into the person as they eat each truffle. And the truffles have other things. And then the manufacture of the truffles and transport occurs within the planet. And the planet has wind tunnels and a lot of magical things about it. So I think that it has 9 hours of sun. No, 8 hours of sun. No, let's see. If you have 24 hours, don't ask me to do math. Okay, so there's 3/4 daylight and 1/4 of every day night.
Okay.
And
So
right,
that's okay. So 6 fours. So
thank
it'll
you
be
very
6 hours. Yeah.
much. Thank you. So does that tell you enough? I mean, I can tell
Oh
you a little
yeah.
bit.
No,
Okay.
no, no.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I have this vision now of the elixir, calling this
Ooh.
mixture is an elixir, and we'll leave it there. Where do the names Van and Lee come from? Were they names that you just had in your mind, that perhaps names you would have called your children, or just favorite names? I always get asked that when I talk about my books, where do you get the names of all the characters? So where do the names come from? I'm always interested as to where people come up with these names. So where did you come up with the name of Lee and Van as Javan and Jaya
Jaya Lee. Right. So Lee came from the chocolate company I owned in the mountains of North Carolina in the early 2000s. And it was called Jane's Lee and Sylvain. And in the 7.5 minute trailer that Aaron Gibson created for the launch of the book this summer, Thank you, Erin. Wonderful, wonderful. You'll notice a JS logo. And that was the logo that was used in my chocolate company. They were J&S chocolates. And the name was Jane's Lee. So that's where Lee came from. Now, Van, as I was investigating Viking names, because I was really intrigued with Vikings and everything about Vikings 20 years ago or so, I wanted a name from Celtic history for the emissary. So Jaya Lee is the actual person on 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐑𝐓𝐈𝐍𝐆 who's related to Lee on Earth. And then Stuvan was a name that I found in Viking culture, and that's where Van came from. So those were the two names.
I love it. And that makes perfect sense because you've got the Lee and the Van, both of the first characters. So
Yes.
it's a breakdown. So that makes there's a question in there that I could delve further, but I shall save that for another day. It's an interesting one for me. Again, being an author, I find myself trying to stick to a very clear pattern of why I'm writing the book, what my message is. When I read the book, I just read all about the virtues and all about how the perception is that we need to change. And I believe, just from the culture that we're living in, that we do need to change. And is that what brought the virtues to the surface, or was it already something that was going on years ago and it wasn't current?
No, I was really in tune with it 25 years ago. I began to realize, well, what's the big deal about virtues and values? Why is particularly virtues? And I did a big study on virtues, all the different virtues. What did they mean? And they're really a part of our character. But what I came to conclude was that all societies have lived by virtue because it makes you feel good. It's as simple as that. When you aspire to live by virtues and values, and those are evolving, both of them, right? You become aware of them and then you begin to practice them. And then eventually, if you're patient with yourself and give yourself grace, because it doesn't happen overnight, eventually you move more toward that vibration and that way of thinking about kindness and goodness and generosity and mercy and tolerance and tenacity, which we discussed Monday in our live room. And then each time we made an effort out in the world that's heart-centered, and we made ourselves intentionally aware that we were practicing that, that's what builds character. So this was something that I had studied and really looked into right around the year 2000, 2002. And then it just seemed logical when I actually wrote the book from the outline that they would be embedded in everything there. And it is a better place to live. It is the other side of a lot of the unpleasant information, the sensory overload of negative information in our world. There's also positive, but it causes our system to lower its vibration. And that is dis-ease. And that's how people get sick, by what they're thinking predominantly and how they feel when they're thinking it. So 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐃 is the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
It's a place where there's goodness and kindness, and you can go there and you're not worrying about someone posting something on 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐃 that isn't nice. Right?
Because there wouldn't be that, would there?
No,
Because everybody has virtues. Wouldn't that
that's
be
right.
wonderful?
That's right.
I absolutely love that idea. I think it's so important, and I think it's something we should teach young people. So I think to have it in a book is really, really clever. Can you explain what the emissaries are?
So the emissaries are selected based on their level of character and spirituality to take the truffles to another planet. And in this case, it's Earth. So there is a connection between 𝐒𝐓𝐿 and Earth, which you'll find out in the second book, right? Which is underway. There is a connection, and it's heart-centered. So it's really an honor to be selected. And Jaya Lee and Stuvan were selected initially to be the first emissaries to 𝐒𝐓𝐿. And their job was to come back, bring the truffles. You see, because the liquid in the truffles infuses the virtues. And so the idea is that when you bring the truffles to Earth and people eat them, they become better people. And in return, there's something from Earth that is also taken back. And it could be goods and supplies in many instances that are not available on 𝐒𝐓𝐿. So it's an honor, it's a distinct selection, and all the young children are raised to want that spot. They want to be the one to bring the truffles to the other planets, and we're talking about Earth in our case.
It's amazing. A lovely thing to think about, that
Yeah.
it's to get that honor. You're going to be the chosen one. How lovely. What are spirit demons?
Well, there's always got to be something negative, right? Right, so that we can do good things, right? So Stuvan is responsible for the ecological balance on 𝐒𝐓𝐿, and this came down from his father, etc. Now, the spirit demons and the old souls, which I can tell you about later, but the spirit demons are the kind of devilish, right? They're the negative side. And both of those characters, or those spiritual beings, travel from the center of 𝐒𝐓𝐿 to the surface through wind tunnels. And so there's always skirmishes. And the spirit demons love foraging on truffles and anything green. And that's where Stuvan's job is, to deter the spirit demons, to feed them what they need so that they don't touch the harvest and the beautiful greenery, if you will, on 𝐒𝐓𝐿, to maintain the ecological balance. So should I tell about one of the things he did to stop them? Is it okay to tell, do you think?
I think that if we're going to do this, the secrets have got to come out. So go on then.
Oh, okay. Well, let me just say hello to MD Abdur. Thank you, sir. Bangladesh. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for coming. It reminds me of one of the Beatles songs talking about Bangladesh. Anyway, thank you for being here, sir. Okay, what was the question again?
So we were talking about the spirit
yeah,
demons.
I got it. Okay, so one of the ways that Stuvan solves the devilishness, if you will, of the foraging of the spirit demons is he came up with an idea to gather from the edges of the wind tunnels any loose forage, any sticks, leaves, right, as he made sure that everything was kept pristine. And he would gather them right outside the wind tunnel in a big pile. And then around the edges, he would set small fires. And the spirit demons are fearful of fire. So what he did was he put this right there so that they would be full and would eat their fill with what he had gathered. But he had to do that to create this food supply, if you will, because otherwise they would escape. And the fire also kept them within that area, because before he came up with that idea, they would just loose, come up through the wind tunnels, and they just go and eat all the truffles, and their favorite was raspberry. So when they were processing the truffles underground, everybody was wondering, well, where the heck are the raspberry ones, right? And someone said, ah, they must have gotten out again. So that's kind of one of the ways that Stuvan, whose job on 𝐒𝐓𝐿 is to keep the planet pristine ecologically and environmentally, his challenges are always about managing the spirit demons. Does that give you a good idea?
So that means the divine souls are the positive side of
Yes.
the
Spirit
like
demon.
we've got spirit demon and you have the
That's
divine souls, yeah?
That's right.
And then the old souls are who?
They're the teachers. They also emanate from within 𝐒𝐓𝐿, and this is where all children go to learn. And if you are reading this, here's a nice note from Aaron. Hey, thanks, Aaron. Hey, Linda, thank you for being here. And Bethann, Bethann, it's so good to see you. Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be fun. And the next one is, there were only 2 kisses in the first one. That's why it's great for teenagers, because it's all about virtues and values, and there's no sex at all in it, right? Just a couple of kisses, harmless kisses, right? So the next one will have probably 2 more, right? 2 more kisses. So the old souls teach all the children, and you will see every morning the children going underground to be with the old souls and to learn at their knee. Now, the old souls are also sage and masters. So the older population, the adults, also spend time at the knee of the old souls. And of course, the way they get there, they're transported by the females, right? So you'll often see the transport of a female Iradian carrying a male to study with the old souls. And of course, she stays right there. So she's actually getting all the information, but the real teaching is directed, if you will, at the adult males and then all the children. Does that help?
That. Yep, absolutely. Right. I don't know how we're doing for time. Let's just check. Yeah, not too bad at all.
We got it. We're going just for 30 minutes, right, today?
Absolutely. So the next question is, how did you come up with the idea of the disc?
Oh.
And it's like nothing I could ever have imagined, ever. So I've not seen anything like it in a sci-fi film or in anything at all. I don't even know how your head went there, but it's so unique and so spectacular that if it ever got to be a film, I think this would be one of the most amazing parts, having this disc and trying to see that, yes, definitely made for Disney. Aaron, I agree. The idea of, this disc being just on a screen, a huge screen, we're all watching it in the cinema, and it's just this, to me, this is magic. So I would love to hear more of the magic
of the disc.
So
the disc comes from 𝐒𝐓𝐿. Now that was not figured out when I wrote the outline. The disc really came into play when I wrote the book a couple of years ago, when I began to write the book. The disc is how people on 𝐒𝐓𝐿 live. The disc looks, when it's in the riverbeds and in the fountains, it looks like water, but what it is an oval glass disc. And I don't know if I should tell you how it turns into water, or people should just don't tell you. Okay, you'll have to read about that. So I visualized myself. This is how I wrote the book. I'm the main character. So I'm visualizing it in present tense. I'm running down the steps of my place, heading up the path after a storm to my mother's cottage, not too far away from the main house. And as I'm kicking the sticks and leaves off the path from the rain the night before, there's a flash of light that catches my eye. And so I go further down the path and I see it again and I pick it up and held it in my hand. Should I say a little bit about what happens when I hold it in my hand?
Go
I
on.
could.
A little bit.
A little
Just
bit.
a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay, okay. Oh, look, here's Lisa here. Fantastic. Let's see here. What is Hi, Tolu. Got a copy from clicking. Oh, well, isn't that lovely? Thank you so much. Yeah, it's yeah, tasteful. Yeah, it is. There's lots of good food. By the way, this is the hotel that I created. Well, and actually, Aaron Gibson helped me, but this is where I broadcast from when I do live broadcasts from Earth to Earth from 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐑�𝐓𝐈𝐍𝐆. The things that have been created there are quite lovely and beautiful, and they are an escape. So when I picked up the disc from the ground, the minute I held it in my hand, and it's about like this, it's maybe about this size, maybe 2.5 inches. It's oval and it's clear. It looks like glass. But when I picked it up, it began to melt very slowly in my hands. So I stuck my hand in a pocket and found a tissue and wrapped it up in there and deposited it in my pocket. But then there's something about the disc, because as I approached my mother's cottage, I noticed that her flower boxes looked different. And I also sneezed before I got there. So there was this process of holding the disc, it's starting to melt, a process of sneezing, almost like you're allergic to it. And then there's a visual image of the flowers, which are brilliant. And you'll find this and 25 elements in the book in the 7.5-minute trailer, because you'll see the disc there and now you'll know a little bit about what it's about. But it is how people live on 𝐒𝐓𝐿, and it is the changing of the disc into a life force that is part of the mystery. Yeah.
Stop. That's enough. Right, that's enough of that. No more. Okay, do you think the reader might think that the love between Lee and Van seems somehow forbidden? Because I think when I was reading it, I got that vibe that it's like somebody's trying to stop it, and the feeling is that there's the world's against them. How do you feel about that?
Not initially. I think it was a really kind of naive, haphazard, unexpected, rather magical meeting in a very short period of time. And just like any other couple, I think, and like any other couple would be, right? Excited to see each other. Each time they spent a few minutes before she took the bus home every day, they had a few more words and eventually a hug, right? And so, no, I think my thoughts initially that there was nothing unusual, of course, until you know what happened, and I don't know if I can tell you, but when they first met, no. Nothing was against them. Now, in the second book, you might find something like that. Maybe.
Well, I'm just going to say that in the first book, a definite feeling that someone's messing with somebody's mind, because poor old Lee, really does have a bit of a job trying to get to the facts. And I feel personally that if I'd have been Lee, I'd have been pulling my hair out, wondering what on earth was going on. And so I think that's one of the great mysteries of book one, is how you leave us wondering, well, how can this be? And who who who's stopping it? Who doesn't want this to happen? Why don't they want it to happen? You know, young love is so beautiful, right? And so there was this feeling that she turns up at the place where she expects to see him and is not there. And then
Yes,
they tried to tell her that
he was
who,
never there.
what, he's never been here. You know, it's a mystery. And you know, you would just be climbing this. I know you would bit between your teeth. Same as I would get the bit between my teeth. We'd be, you know, wondering what on earth's going on, where, why, who, all the whats. So, you know, I think the part of the book that leaves us wanting is you know the where your mind was going with it. You were set up for book two. You were setting us up for book two with book one, with all the questions, with all the unanswered points, with all the needs, and we all need to know. You know, I feel very much like, you know, Columbo. I'm standing at the door saying, "But what about this? But what about that?" You know, I'm
Yeah.
left with 50 questions. So, you know, I think the part that you've done, Leslie, with this book that is so wonderful is
Mm,
left people wanting. And when
mm.
you leave people wanting, they want more. And so, on that note, I think it's only fair to say we'll call it a day and we'll do this again next week.
Yes,
So,
yes.
thank you very much, everybody. Please, if you haven't got it yet, this is the book. It's absolutely amazing. And I'll show you the back. Hang on before we go. There we are.
And
You
that's
can see that.
Jaya Lee and Stuvan. Now they're from the planet. They're the first two emissaries. And so I've shared with you how they became and what an honor it is. So that's not Lee and Van, or maybe it is. Oh, no, it's not. Or maybe it is. So,
Stop it, you teaser.
okay.
So here's the thing. Get it if you haven't got it as yet, because it really has. You need to know this. You have to have this to know what happens next. Because without the foundations of eRada 1, eRada 2 will make sense. Because so many questions will need to be answered. And we'll put Leslie up against a wall and find them out. So this is going to be it for today. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, Leslie.
Thank you.
And we'll do it all again next week.
We will. We're going to do this for the next 2 Wednesdays. And then, if all goes well and the discs don't dry up, we'll have an audio book for book one coming out before the end of the year. So, for those of you who want to listen
Yay!
to it, and I'm going to read it. So that's my intention, and I'm willing myself to do that. So there's a lot of excitement coming, and then in the first quarter of 2025, either first or second quarter in the spring, book two will be coming out. So we're very excited about it and love that you're all here with us and that you followed along since this summer, right? You were all here, and many others were with us this summer when the book launched, and it did quite nicely in science fiction, literature, fantasy, a number of categories. So that was lovely. All right. So now I'm going to try to leave us. I always have trouble with this. And it is Mercury retrograde. By the way, Mercury retrograde says that many things have to be done over again. Has anybody in the audience experienced doing something and then have to doing it again? This is the time. So don't be surprised. Just blame it on Mercury retrograde. Thank you, Paulette.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you so much.
See you very soon. Take care.
You bet.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Now, and this takes me a minute, so people, I don't know why this happens. It's the same thing every time. Oh, it's ending.